Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're stepping into the shoes of policy analysts and government officials to deeply analyze the definitive, legally grounded framework of India's disaster management. Whether you're drafting state policy or managing district-level resources, understanding the statutory backbone of our nation's emergency response is absolutely essential. So, we'll be anchoring our entire discussion today on the landmark Disaster Management Act of 2005, unpacking exactly how it translates from legislative theory into life-saving, on-the-ground reality. All right, here's our roadmap for this briefing. We're going to cover the foundations of the DM Act, the three-tier architecture, operational forces and funding, legal mandates and penalties, and finally, nodal agencies and global pacts. First up, the foundations of the DM Act. So, dictated by 11 chapters and 79 sections, this act forced a massive paradigm shift in governance across 5 crucial sequential phases: prevention, mitigation, preparation, response, and recovery. You see, prior to 2005, our approach was largely relief-centric. We were basically just reacting after the damage was already done. But this legal framework, it forces a proactive governmental approach. It mandates that we actively prevent disasters where possible, mitigate their impact, and strategically rebuild rather than just handing out aid after the fact. Now, you might be wondering, why does this proactive shift matter so much? Well, it all comes down to what emergency managers call the golden hour. That's the critical first 60 minutes immediately post-disaster, where a rapid deployment strategy can maximize the number of lives saved. This concept literally dictates why a legally robust, highly decentralized framework is so necessary. A top-heavy, slow-moving bureaucracy simply cannot capitalize on this critical window of time. Let's move on to part 2, the three-tier architecture. You can clearly see how the top-down administrative mandate flows precisely from the national level down to the state level and all the way to the district level. It's a highly structured three-tier architecture, ensuring that high-level policymaking at the center translates directly into grassroots implementation, and it does so without any jurisdictional confusion. For the policy analysts and bureaucrats joining us, understanding exactly which statutory section empowers which official is absolutely crucial for compliance. Specifically, Section 3 legally empowers the Prime Minister to head the National Disaster Management Authority, or NDMA. Moving down, Section 14 grants authority to the Chief Minister to lead the state authority. And finally, and honestly, arguably most critically for ground execution, Section 25 empowers the District Magistrate or Collector to head the District Authority. There is zero ambiguity here about who is in charge at any given level. Okay, Section 3, operational forces and funding. The real operational muscle here is the National Disaster Response Force, or NDRF. When they first started back in 2006, they had just 8 battalions. But today, they operate with exactly 16 specialized battalions. And we need to be clear, these aren't just everyday civilian volunteers. These are elite units drawn directly from central armed police forces like the BSF, CRPF, CISF, and ITP, bringing high-level discipline and specialized technical skills straight into disaster zones. Established formally under Section 44 of the Act and operating under the Ministry of Home Affairs, the NDRF operates by a really powerful code. Their motto, Apta Seva Sadaiv Sarvatra, translates to saving lives and beyond. I think it perfectly captures the total, unconditional commitment required from these highly trained battalions during catastrophic events. They are essentially acting as the ultimate safety net for the nation. Let's talk capital now, because as we know, operations mean absolutely nothing without funding. This is how the framework builds fiscal accountability. Section 46 establishes the National Disaster Response Fund, which is fully centralized. However, Section 48 mandates the State Disaster Response Fund, which generally demands a very specific 75-25 financial split between the center and the state. Oh, and as a fascinating little aside for our policy buffs, for special category states, like those in hilly or northeastern regions, the center actually shoulders an even larger burden with a 90-10 ratio. Next up, Section 4, legal mandates and penalties. Look, a framework is honestly only as strong as its compliance, and Sections 51 through 60 make it crystal clear to officials and citizens alike that disaster management is a very serious legal matter. Obstructing relief operations under Section 51, making false claims for relief under Section 52, or misappropriating funds under Section 53 carries severe penalties, including up to 2 years of actual imprisonment. Even spreading false alarms or violating government orders carries guaranteed jail time or strict fines. It is a strict zero-tolerance policy for compromising public safety. But we also get to see these administrative mandates turning into highly actionable life-saving policy through precedent-setting case studies. For instance, the pioneering 2013 Ahmedabad Heat Action Plan literally became a blueprint for mitigating extreme heat waves across the country. Additionally, the Home Ministry's 2016 Optimitra scheme successfully trained community volunteers across 30 of the most flood-prone districts in 25 states. This is exactly how the statutory framework successfully empowers local capacity building. Finally, Section 5, Nodal Agencies and Global Pacts. Disasters don't happen in a vacuum, right? And neither does disaster management. To ensure a precise scientific response without overlapping bureaucratic jurisdictions, the framework designates specific disasters to absolute expert nodal agencies. For example, the India Meteorological Department tracks cyclones, the Central Water Commission monitors floods, the Geological Survey of India maps landslide vulnerabilities, and INCOS in Hyderabad provides early warnings for tsunamis. This ensures that the district magistrate on the ground is getting intelligence from the absolute highest scientific authority possible. And all of this precise local action is strictly aligned with global policy evolution. India's framework has matured from the early UN Hyogo framework right through to the current 15-year blueprint of the Sendai framework, which heavily champions the goal of building back better by 2030. Furthermore, India is taking a massive global leadership role here, actively establishing the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, or CDRI, in New York back in September 2019 to share our resilience strategies on the world stage. Which brings us to our final thought today. The nature of threats is fundamentally changing. Transboundary disasters, things like pandemics, tsunamis, and severe climate change impacts, they don't respect national borders, let alone district lines. So understanding this legal framework is really just the beginning. What you should take away from this explainer is exactly how your role, whether you are a policy analyst, a local administrator, or just an active citizen, fits into this massive machinery. So ask yourself, is your specific administrative tier fully prepared to execute its statutory mandate without hesitation during the next golden hour? Because when that clock starts, the law and the lives it protects literally wait for no one.